You've seen it. The loud, dazzling displays of new wealth broadcast for the world to see. The roaring engines of brightly colored supercars, the unboxing of logo-covered handbags, the trips on private jets with every moment documented for your social media feed. It's a spectacle of arrival, a triumphant announcement of success played out for an audience of millions. But the families with fortunes that have lasted for centuries, the ones with true generational power, operate from a completely different script. Their names might be on university libraries and museum wings, but their faces are rarely seen. They have a power that doesn't need to announce itself, and they raise their children with an almost religious devotion to one core principle. Privacy is power. Publicity is a weakness. In their world, being loud makes you vulnerable. Being private keeps you protected. There's a widely cited statistic from studies on wealth that says 70% of wealthy families lose their fortune by the second generation. By the third, that number climbs to a staggering 90%. Yet, a select few dynasties have managed to defy these odds for centuries. How? They haven't just mastered making money, they've mastered protecting it, and more importantly, protecting the family that holds it. They do this by instilling a mindset in their children from the moment they are born, a curriculum of quiet confidence that values legacy over likes and discretion over display. So what is this secret training that teaches the heirs of these dynasties to stay silent while others shout? What are the unspoken rules taught behind the closed doors of ancestral estates and ivy-covered boarding schools? This is the inside story on the hidden family values and the strict childhood training that forges privacy not as a preference, but as their greatest inheritance. If you're fascinated by the worlds of quiet luxury, timeless tradition, and the psychology of the ultra-rich, consider subscribing to our channel. We delve into the unspoken rules and mindsets of those who shape our world from the shadows. Your subscription allows us to continue bringing you these exclusive insights. Section 1. The first pillar, discretion as a survival strategy. The first and most fundamental pillar of old money training is understanding that discretion isn't just good manners, it's a survival strategy. From a young age, children are taught that the family's privacy is a fortress. Every word spoken, every friendship made, every piece of information shared is a potential crack in that fortress wall. While a new money mindset might see wealth as a megaphone to amplify one's status, the old money child learns to see it as a magnet, attracting unwanted attention from every corner of society. This training starts simply. It's not about complex lectures on finance, but repeated lessons in guardedness. Children are taught to avoid discussing family assets, travel plans, or internal family matters with anyone outside the most trusted inner circle. This isn't about being rude or secretive, it's a calculated defense mechanism. They learn that talking about money is considered vulgar, not because of some stuffy social rule, but because it's strategically foolish. To reveal what you have is to tell the world what can be taken from you. This includes threats far more serious than social climbing. Litigation, kidnapping threats, scams, and public shaming are all real-world risks that grow with wealth. The less the public knows about your life, your habits, and your holdings, the smaller the target on your family's back. Think of it as the difference between a speedboat and a submarine. The new money approach is the speedboat, loud, fast, and visible. It zips across the surface, making impressive waves and drawing every eye. It's exciting, thrilling, and impossible to ignore. But it's also completely exposed. Everyone sees where it's going and who is on board. The old money approach is the submarine. It moves silently beneath the surface. It's immensely powerful, but it operates without fanfare. Its strength lies in its ability to remain unseen. It runs on a principle of dignified silence. It can observe the world without being observed and surface only when it's strategically smart. Old money children are trained to be captains of their own submarine. They learn that true power isn't in making the biggest splash, but in navigating the depths without anyone knowing you're there. This training shows up in very practical ways. At the dinner table, conversations are steered away from gossip and materialism and toward ideas, history, art, and literature. This cultivates an intellectual depth that makes superficial chatter about wealth feel boring. A child who can debate philosophy is less likely to brag about the price of their shoes. They're taught to listen more than they speak and to communicate with an economy of words. Bragging isn't a sign of success, but a signal of insecurity, a desperate plea for validation from outsiders. In the world of new money, a child might be praised for being a get-goer who builds a large public profile. In the old money world, that same behavior would be viewed with suspicion. It's a sign that a child hasn't yet learned the family's most important lesson. The protective walls of privacy, once breached, are almost impossible to rebuild. Section 2. The second pillar. Wealth as stewardship, not ownership. The second pillar is a philosophical shift that changes everything. The idea that wealth is not a personal possession, but a generational responsibility. An old money heir isn't taught that the family fortune is theirs. They are taught that they are merely its temporary custodians or stewards with a sacred duty to preserve and grow it for the generations to come. This mindset of stewardship, not ownership, is the psychological engine that drives the need for privacy. If you believe a fortune is yours to spend, as is often the case with new money, then publicizing your spending makes sense. It's a celebration of your achievement, a way of saying, "I earned this, look what I can do with it." But if you're raised to believe the wealth isn't yours, but a multi-generational trust, then showing it off becomes a profound irresponsibility. It's seen as a betrayal of your ancestors and a theft from your descendants. This concept of stewardship is drilled into children from their earliest years. They are taught that the family name carries more weight than any bank account. The primary goal isn't personal comfort or fame, it's the continuation of the family legacy. From this perspective, publicity introduces unacceptable risk. It attracts public scrutiny, invites government oversight, and can turn the family into a political target, all of which threaten the core mission of passing the fortune and the family's name on, intact. This value system is reinforced through quiet family rituals. Philanthropy, for instance, is often handled differently. For new money, a large public donation can be a powerful branding tool, with a press release and a building named in their honor. For many old money families, philanthropy is a duty fulfilled more quietly, often through established publicly named family foundations that have existed for decades. The goal isn't necessarily anonymity, but to fulfill a responsibility without the spectacle of a personal branding event. The work is done quietly, and the reflection is done at home. Spending habits are also a form of education. Instead of shopping sprees for trendy designer items, the old money approach is to teach calculated, timeless investments. A child learns about quality from a family tailor their grandfather used, or from understanding the craftsmanship of a watch that is meant to be passed down, not the hype of a new model. They're taught to appreciate experiences, education, art, travel, over the fleeting thrill of material goods. This isn't about being cheap, it's about being strategic. Every purchase is a statement of values, and the highest value is permanence. Logo-heavy items signal a desire for fleeting validation. Timeless quality items signal an internal confidence that requires no outside approval. This focus on legacy even extends to career choices. An heir might not need to work a 9-to-5 job, but they are expected to be productive. Managing family investments, running a charitable foundation, or pursuing a field like art or academia that adds to the family's cultural capital. The pressure isn't to get rich, because the family already is. The pressure is to be worthy of that wealth and to avoid doing anything that would bring unnecessary attention to the family name. Section 3. The third pillar. The cultivation of an inner life. The third pillar is maybe the most profound because it deals with identity, the cultivation of a rich inner life. Old money children are trained to build their self-worth on internal substance, not external validation. Their value is tied to their character, intellect, and moral compass, not public opinion or social media likes. This is the ultimate antidote to the craving for publicity. If you don't need the world to tell you who you are, you have no need to perform for it. To build this inner fortress, their upbringing centers on pursuits that develop the self from the inside out. Education is paramount, not just for a credential, but to build a complex mind. Children are exposed to knowledge through libraries, museums, and travel. Dinner conversations aren't just chit-chat, they are training in critical thinking. The child is expected to have an opinion and be able to defend it. Hobbies are also chosen to build character, not just to pass the time. There's a preference for pursuits that require discipline and patience. Think of classic sports like equestrianism, sailing, or tennis. Learning to master a musical instrument or becoming fluent in a foreign language are activities where progress is slow, and the reward is the skill itself, not the applause. This teaches a child to find satisfaction in the process, not just the outcome. In our hyper-digital world, this training is most visible in the approach to technology. While a new money teen might have the latest iPhone and a flawless Instagram, old money families often teach their children to see technology as a tool, not a status symbol. It's not that they can't afford the newest model, it's that their identity isn't tied to having the latest gadget, so they may not feel the need to upgrade if the old one works perfectly fine. Social media use is often heavily restricted or discouraged. The family understands social media is an engine of external validation, training users to constantly seek approval. Why post a photo of your vacation for the world when the real value was the experience itself? To post it is to cheapen it, turning a private moment into a public commodity. Ultimately, this pillar is about teaching a child to be their own source of validation. It's about building a person so secure in their own identity that the roar of public opinion becomes background noise. In a world where so many are desperate to be seen, they are taught the peace that comes from looking inward and being content with what they find. Section 4. The fourth pillar, the art of understated communication. The fourth and final pillar is the mastery of understated communication. This is the subtle language of the elite, a code of conduct that operates on nuance and restraint. To an outsider, it can seem cold or aloof. To those in the circle, it's a way to convey confidence and quietly filter who belongs and who doesn't. Children learn that in their world, true power whispers, it doesn't shout. This training goes much deeper than just knowing which fork to use. It's about mastering the art of making others feel comfortable. Children are drilled on making proper eye contact, on writing a prompt thank you note, and, crucially, on treating service staff with the same courtesy as a head of state. This isn't just being nice, it's a demonstration of grace. A person who is secure doesn't need to assert their importance by demeaning others. A core tenet of this style is that bragging is the ultimate tell of an outsider. It reveals a deep insecurity. When you have true status, you don't need to announce it. Talking about your accomplishments or wealth is seen as vulgar. The assumption is that anyone who matters already knows, and anyone you need to tell doesn't matter. Instead, status is communicated through subtle, coded signals, the essence of quiet luxury. It's not about the absence of luxury, but the absence of its announcement. It's the difference between a handbag covered in monograms and a beautifully crafted, unbranded leather bag from a heritage maker. The first screams, "I spent a lot of money." The second whispers, "I have an understanding of quality that requires no logo." The same principle applies to clothing, watches, and cars, favoring timeless craftsmanship over trendy, attention-grabbing designs. This understated language extends to social networks. Marriage can be a strategic alliance to preserve status within a similar social stratum. Values and lineage are sometimes codified in items like family crests or signet rings, not as flashy jewelry, but as historical markers of belonging, instantly recognizable to those who understand the code. Even the way they speak is different. They are trained to be economical with their words, avoid hyperbole, and express themselves with a calm, measured tone. They listen more than they talk, gathering information rather than dispensing it. This reserved nature isn't disinterest, it's a strategic choice. It allows them to control the flow of information without giving too much of themselves away. By teaching their children this art of understatement, old money families equip them with a powerful social tool. It provides them with a social armor that deflects unwanted attention and ensures they can connect with others who understand that the most powerful person in the room is rarely the loudest one. Section 5. The Case Study. The Architects of Discretion. To see the long-term power of this training, look at a family like the Rothschilds. Emerging in the late 18th century from Frankfurt's Jewish quarter, the family built a banking dynasty that wielded immense influence. While their wealth became legendary, their strategy for preserving that power was rooted in a profound commitment to discretion. The patriarch, Meyer Amschel Rothschild, sent his 5 sons to establish banking houses across Europe. A core part of his strategy was to keep the family's business and wealth strictly within the family. This meant maintaining intense privacy about their operations. Their communications between branches often used coded messages to keep their affairs opaque to competitors, a common practice for banking and commercial firms of the era that relied on the telegraph. This culture of privacy was also a survival mechanism. As their influence grew, they faced intense public fascination and political attacks. By maintaining a disciplined front of quiet professionalism, they navigated the turbulent politics of 19th and 20th century Europe. They were highly selective about their public image, and while they engaged in significant public philanthropy, they understood that becoming public figures made them vulnerable targets. Their power was more potent because it often operated away from the main stage, influencing markets without being subject to the whims of public opinion. Their historical emphasis on discretion allowed them to preserve their influence through centuries of war and revolution, making them a textbook example of how silence is the family's greatest asset. So, what have we learned? The 4 pillars of the old money privacy curriculum: discretion as survival, wealth as stewardship, cultivating an inner life, and understated communication all work together. They form a lifelong training program designed to create heirs who can protect their family's legacy and autonomy. This training creates a stark contrast to the loud, performative culture of new wealth. While one shouts, "Look at me," the other quietly implies, "You don't need to." While one measures success in followers and public recognition, the other measures it in generational continuity and peace of mind. In the 21st century, a world of oversharing and the surveillance economy, this old money ethos feels more relevant than ever. In an age where every moment is potential content and our personal data is a valuable commodity, the ability to control your own narrative, or to have no public narrative at all, has become the ultimate status symbol. You could even argue that privacy is the new luxury, a form of freedom that, increasingly, only the powerful can truly afford. In a world obsessed with being seen, the old money heir is trained to understand that true power lies in the freedom of not needing to be. They learn that the greatest fortunes aren't the ones that are flaunted, but the ones so secure they don't require validation. Their greatest inheritance isn't just the money, but the profound peace and security found only in a deliberately private life. What are your thoughts on this approach? Is this level of privacy a wise strategy or an outdated form of social exclusion? Share your perspective in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychology of wealth, please subscribe and turn on notifications for more content that uncovers the hidden mindsets of the world's most influential circles.